Alright, I'm underneath the 2002 Mustang GT, and I'm going to be replacing the muffler hangers. And they're pretty bad, as you can see here on the passenger side muffler. The mounting hole completely ripped out on the outboard hanger, and the inboard hangers developed a tear that's about halfway through. The passenger side's a little better. Both muffler hangers are still intact, but they're stretched out, dry rotted, and beginning to develop tears. As a matter of fact, if you got a 99 to 04 Mustang GT, and the muffler hangers have never been replaced, it's unlikely they'd be in any better shape than the ones you're looking at here on the left muffler. Because no matter how well you maintain your car, rubber is subject to dry rot and other forms of deterioration as it ages. Alright, I'll start with the driver's side muffler, and as you can see, it's hanging a bit low. So let's see if I can push up on the muffler easily enough. It's not that bad, but I think I'll use a jack to jack it up in position and make my life easier. And instead of placing the jack under the muffler, I'm going to place it under the exhaust pipe. Because even though it's not going to take much force, the muffler's kind of thin and might get dented. Alright. Let me relocate the camera, and you can see that the muffler is about where it needs to be. Now we'll go ahead and remove the old hanger, but to make it easier, I'll put some silicone grease on the shaft. I'll just push the hanger up and back to make it a little easier to apply the grease. Now I can put on the grease. You don't really need much, just make sure you coat the entire perimeter of the shaft. Now that I got the grease on there, wipe my fingers off. Now I should be able to just push this. And I might block the view a little bit, but there we go. Just push that right off. Okay, there you go. That piece is removed. And now I'm going to reapply some silicone grease to make it easier to install the new hanger. Here's the new hanger, and as you can see, it's OEM, the same part that came with the car. Now, I'm not an advocate for only using factory original parts when doing a repair, but in this case, it's the best way to go. It fits better and it's more heavy duty than any readily available aftermarket part. And the price is reasonable, about $7 a pop at your local Ford dealer. And that's 2024 prices. The only drawback is it's unlikely your local Ford dealer will have it in stock, so you'll have to order it and wait about 3 days. But at least you won't have to pay shipping. To prove my point, I made another video where I compared this part to aftermarket parts to demonstrate its superiority. If you're interested, you can click on the link in the video here or in the description below. Alright, back to the job at hand. And not that it matters, but the original, not that I think it matters, but the original ones had this little snubber pointing down. So that's how I'll put it back on. And I'm going to put a little grease in the hole. And in this hole. Alright, just smear that grease in there. There you go. Now, it should go on nice and easy. Let's see. Oh yeah, look at that. Goes right on there. No special tools required. And there you go. And now, I'm going to try just flexing this back. And stretching it on there. Look at that. And that one off. So, I'm on. Now I'll go ahead and remove the one on this side. I'll just clean it up a bit with a paper towel to get rid of some of that road grit and dirt. Now on the inboard hanger, the rod bracket's coming from opposite sides, which is going to make it a little harder to remove it and install it. But if I apply some silicone grease, it shouldn't be that bad. So I got some grease down there. I think I want to wipe this part up here a little bit better. And now that it's cleaned up a bit better, you should be able to see that there is an inner stop on this side. And oddly enough, there wasn't one on the other side. I say oddly because this side is the side that would benefit from not having an inner stop, since in order to remove it, it would make it a lot easier if I pushed the hanger deeper onto the upper rod bracket while I removed it from the lower rod bracket. Why the upper outboard rod bracket has no stop is a mystery. Whatever the case, I'll just have to push it past that upper stop. And again, silicone grease to the rescue. Let me see if I can push this off by hand. I can't really get in a good position because of the camera. It'd probably be easier if I got a screwdriver and a pry bar. Alright, I'll be right back. Okay, so I got a screwdriver here. Let's see if that helps. Oh, knocked the camera. Keep on bumping the camera. And there you go. The new hanger on the inboard side is now installed. But you missed it, because I kept knocking the camera out of the way. And when I repositioned it, I inadvertently turned it off. But don't worry, I still have to replace the mounts on the driver's side muffler. And it's SDDS, same deal, different side. Alright, before I replaced the hangers on the driver's side muffler, I took a moment to lay out all the tools and materials you'll need to do the entire job. To do the job, obviously, you'll need 4 muffler hangers, and your best bet is to get them from Ford. Some kind of pry bar, and in this case I'm using the tire iron that came out of the trunk of the car, a screwdriver, a tube of some type of silicone grease, and it's important that it's silicone based so it doesn't harm the rubber, and a block of wood to use as a fulcrum in conjunction with your pry bar so you can get the leverage where you need it, and 2 jack stands to work under the car safely. And the very last thing would be a jack. You can even get by with the scissor jack from the trunk of the car. Alright, back to the driver's side muffler. As you can see, I already jacked up the muffler to relieve the tension on the mounts. And just in case that's not obvious to you, here's how it was before I jacked it up. Alright, back to the present. And as you can see on this hanger, I already applied silicone grease to both of these end stops. And on the other side, I pried the top over a bit so I could get some grease on the inside of the inner stop. And then I put some grease on this end stop. I didn't put any grease on this end stop yet. I'll put grease on it after I push the hanger back over this inner stop so that I can get this end off. Alright, the outboard mount is easier to remove, so I'll take it off first. It's ready to go. Alright, so now I'm just going to pry this mount off. And I'm just prying against the exhaust pipe. And you don't want to pull it off, you want to push it off. That way it doesn't tighten on the shaft. Work the bottom as well, and maybe push directly instead of just prying. There you go. The old hanger is off. Now I can install the new hanger. And the original ones had these snubbers pointing down. So I'll install them in the same orientation, which means the rods will enter from this side. So I'll put a little grease in each hole. And now I can go ahead and put it on. Now I could just push it on by hand, but so I don't block the view, I'm going to push it on the rest of the way with this tire iron. You can see how easy that goes on. With that silicone lube, it makes it a piece of cake. Alright, that's installed. And now all that's left is the inboard hanger, which is a mirror image of the passenger side inboard hanger, which you missed because I knocked the camera out of the way. But now you'll get to see it in full detail on this inboard hanger. Like I said before, I got to push the top past the inner stop so I can get the bottom half off. I don't really have a good fulcrum to pry against here, but it is moving. Okay, I definitely got it past the inner stop now, and it's also starting to come off the bottom. At this point I can concentrate on getting the bottom off. Alright, it's pretty much off. I just got to rotate it out of the way. Alright, there you go. It's now completely removed from the lower rod. Now I just got to push this back over the inner stop. There you go. Now I should be able to push this off without too much trouble. It seems a bit stubborn. I forgot to put the silicone grease on the end of the shaft when it was exposed. I'll put some silicone grease on the end of the shaft now. It won't be as good, but better than nothing. Now I'll kind of work that lube in. Okay. Alright, let's try this again with the lube this time. Oh yeah, that's better. And actually, because I initially forgot to put the silicone grease on, this kind of demonstrates how much easier a little grease makes the job. Here's the new hanger, and it's the last one. 4 out of 4. Alright, before I install it, let me just wipe down these rod mounts. And next, I'll apply some silicone lube to the upper one. Then I'll put some silicone grease in the holes, making sure to put it on the sides that are going to feed onto the rods. I should be able to just push this on by hand, because it's well lubricated. Okay, there she goes. It's on there. Now I want to push it past the inner stop to make it easier to get on the bottom rod. Okay, got it past. Now I'll put some grease on the bottom rod. Alright, I'll use a screwdriver to guide the hole and a tire iron to push it into position. And now I'll just pry it over. I'll just use a piece of wood as a fulcrum and pry the bottom on all the way. And then I'll push the top back over the inner stop and where it belongs. Alright, that's done. Now all 4 hangers are installed. Now you may have noticed that it took a bit longer to remove the old hangers than it did to install the new ones. And if you're replacing the old hangers because they're bad, like mine were, if you slit the holes with a razor knife, you can reduce the removal time to a matter of seconds instead of minutes. And of course, if you need to reuse the hangers, then you take them off the way I showed you.